Chapter 3. Finally there's sleep, Carissa said as she hopped back on the couch next to Craig. Great. It's been a traumatic day, so I'm sure they're wiped. Craig rubbed Carissa's shoulders. How about you? I'm good, and that feels wonderful, said Carissa, enjoying the rub. In fact, I'm better than good since we met you guys. Really? Craig smiled as she spun around, looking at him. Me too, actually. There was an awkward silence for a moment or two as they stared into each other's eyes. She slipped her fingers between his one hand and gently rubbed them as her soft smile was so enticing. With his free hand he stroked her hair, and then it seemed so peaceful as they gazed at each other as she started to kiss him. I'm sorry, said Carissa, slowly pulling back. Maybe it's the wine, and I know I'm not. I mean, we're not each other's cup of tea. It's just we've both been trying to change our lives with these foul addictions, said Craig, barely able to hold back inside as he was dying to jump her. But on the other hand, this all seems so meant to be. You know, our chance meeting, and something here seems so magical. It does, right, said Carissa with a sparkle in her eye as she leaned back in, initiating the kiss. It was nothing like he had ever shared before as she took control, leaning in and pushing him back against the couch. It was so soft and moist, and no doubt he was aroused in the longest kiss of his life. She was enjoying every minute of the passionate foreplay as she straddled his lap now, not allowing him any advances as she stopped his hands from straying to her ass and breasts. You know this is crazy, right? Carissa finally broke the kiss, looking into his eyes. You sure about this? Craig mumbled, as he could barely get out the words as her tongue was back in his mouth and she was holding his face as she kissed him, doing most of the work. After 10 more minutes, she broke the kiss and got up, taking his hand. She led him to her bedroom as they stripped each other and she pushed him back on her bed. She tried not screaming as she dropped herself on top of his rock-hard member, only to cover his mouth a few times as he was getting too loud as she was incredibly tight, squeezing him with her legs and controlling the pace. Her body was rock-hard and her breasts so firm. He reached up, knowing she was enjoying his touch as she moaned as he sucked her huge nipples. It wasn't long before he came as she instantly jumped off him and ran for the bathroom, slamming the door behind her as it was easily the best sex of his life. You okay? Craig lay back, getting hard again and wanting more. I could make love to you all night. You're incredible. I need a minute, Carissa yelled as he was stunned hearing her continuously puking. You okay? Craig jumped up and ran to the bathroom door. You want me to come in? Unlock the door, Carissa. No, I'm fine, said Carissa, breathing heavily through the bathroom door. I'm so sorry, Craig. It's been a long time since I've felt anything like that. I'm so sorry. It's okay, Carissa, said Craig through the door as she continued spewing. It's been a long time for me too, but you were incredible. I'm sorry I made you so sick. Craig, I'm so sorry. It's not what I meant, said Carissa, trying to compose herself as he could hear the faucet running. It's just you're the first non-battery operated or rubber apparatus I've had in a long time. I'm sorry. You better go. I need time to think, and I don't want the kids seeing you here when they wake up. Carissa, you sure? You're throwing up. Craig knocked on the door. I can't leave you like this. Just go, please, said Carissa, crying. I'm sorry. Please, I need to be alone. I'll be fine. Now go. Please. Craig wasn't sure what to think as he got dressed and left her townhouse. It was incredible, but realized he may have gone too far too fast with a girl with a bad addiction and who definitely had her issues. He could barely sleep, tossing and turning all night as he was happily awakened by her phone call early Sunday morning. "Hey, you okay?" Carissa asked as he answered her call. "I'm good, but are you okay is the question," said Craig. "I'm fine. I'll meet you at the party and we'll talk later, okay?" said Carissa in a cheery mood. "It's a fine day and I'll text you the address." "So we're good?" said Craig. "We're fantastic, so let me go wake the girls and make them some breakfast," said Carissa. "I'll see you later, okay, and I'm really looking forward to it." "Me too," said Craig, hanging up and feeling relieved. Carissa woke up Taylor and Kaylee and they had a simple breakfast. While they ate, she got herself together. "Kaylee, in the shower please, and then we'll let Taylor take one," said Carissa, handing Kaylee some towels. "Taylor, you follow me please." Taylor followed Carissa into her bedroom as she closed the bedroom door as soon as Kaylee got in the shower. "So no more secrets, Taylor," said Carissa, folding her arms. "It's just you and me here now, understand?" Yeah," replied Taylor, gulping nervously as Carissa leaned on her dresser maybe a foot or so away. "Obviously I know why you don't like wearing dresses," said Carissa sternly, lifting his nightgown with her foot to about his knees. "If I were you, I wouldn't either." "You do?" said Taylor, starting to shake a little. "Yes, and if you'll let me I'll help you." "Is that what you want?" "If so, just say the word." "What word?" mumbled Taylor. "I'll say any word to make this right." "You don't have to say more than that, honey," said Carissa, handing him the end of the nightgown to hold. "This can't be easy having a brother trying to make you so girly. We both know that's quite a stretch. You do realize I can see what's under there, and I understand how this has scared you? Spread a little for me and Carissa will take care of everything. Don't be shy, as I promise not to hurt you, sweetie." "Oh, thank you, Carissa," said Taylor, feeling relieved as he widened his stance. "You have no idea how hard this has been." "Honey, of course I do," said Carissa, kneeling and pushing up his nightgown a little more. "Don't tell anyone, but I'm not a natural blonde like my Kaylee, so I really understand. When I was your age, I had jet back hair too, so I had similar issues, not wanting my legs to be seen either once my hormones starting changing. I was like a pre-teen gorilla at your age, so I remember how self-conscious I was when all this dark hair just seemed to appear almost overnight. Now be still and I'll fix you right up so you'll never have to worry about this again. It'll just be our little secret." This wasn't at all what he expected, as Taylor was horrified hearing a distinct buzzing sound as he now felt the electric razor gliding up his left calf. He began trembling as it was moving rapidly up and down his entire leg, and then, before he knew it, was buzzing on the other one. Finally she dropped the nightgown back down, then grabbed his wrist, and it seemed like a frozen moment in time as she buzzed the little dark hairs off each arm, and it was over before he even knew what hit him. "See, you can use it underwater as well if you ever need to, and use Kaylee's body wash which is already in there." Carissa handed it to him. "Only thing now is you'll need to make sure I didn't miss anything, or everyone will be able to tell, so bring it in the bathroom with you just in case. When you come out and get dressed, call me and I'll come in and do your hair. I'll close the bedroom door so you have a little privacy and your underwear will be on the bed. Once I iron your new outfit, it'll be hanging up on the doorknob. I think you'll love it." Taylor entered the bathroom with the electric razor on his hand and stripped off his nightgown. Instantly his stomach sank, seeing his completely hairless body. He touched his legs, feeling the smoothness, and then his arms as the dark peach fuzz and hair was no more. He relaxed in the shower, washing and conditioning his hair, and then it felt so strange rubbing down with body wash. He was surprised as the tape seemed to hold firm as he stepped out of the shower, drying his smooth soft body. He wrapped a towel around his waist and cracked the door open, seeing a little bra with the panties laid out on the bed. He could hear the hairdryer buzzing in the next room and almost died as he quickly stepped into the panties, which were slightly fancier than he had on before, hurrying, nervous that Carissa might walk in. He was shaking as he slid his arms into the little matching bra and fumbled for a minute or two before finally catching it in the back to secure the little hook. He looked down, seeing the little triple ruffle panty design easily hiding everything, but felt a little distressed seeing some stray dark hairs between his legs near his privates. He was sick as he knew what he had to do, walking back into the bathroom and parting his thighs quickly, buzzing the little dark strays from between his legs. He could barely function, seeing the triangular patches covering his nipples as he hurried back into the bedroom, seeing his outfit covered in white plastic hanging from the doorknob. It was all he could do not to pass out the moment he opened the plastic, seeing the dress he was about to have to put himself into. "You okay in there?" Carissa knocked on the door. "Almost ready for me to come in and do your hair?" Just one more minute, okay," sighed Taylor, taking the dress from the hanger. "Perfect, I'll be right back," said Carissa. There wasn't much he could do as unzipped the back of the dress and stepped in. He guided it up his body and slipped his arms through the thin shoulder straps. He was struggling to get the zipper all the way up as Carissa walked in with her hairdryer, as she quickly spun him around, and before he could even react, he had been closed in. He looked down, his bare legs uneasily wiggling his painted toenails, watching the loose fabric in the dress sway as Carissa was making it wiggle while she shook him slightly, towel drying his head. She now positioned a small towel over his shoulders before ushering him to sit on the edge of the bed and began combing and drying his hair. It was completely unsettling as she rolled under his bangs with a round brush, and then brushed his entire head. "Next time you use any heat, you also need to remember to use a heat protectant." Carissa sprayed a small section and pinched his hair with her flat iron. "Okay," mumbled Taylor. She then proceeded to spray each section with a heat protectant and glide the flat iron through it until finally she had done his entire head. "I think it was for the best anyway, sweetie," said Carissa, now brushing a section back behind his bangs. "You're adorable in bangs, don't you think?" "I have no idea," Taylor answered softly as she was creating a deep part down the center behind his bangs all the way down to the base at the back of his head, and then he felt her snap in a jaw clip on one side. On the loose section about 4 inches back from hairline, she began sectioning the hair into 3 segments with her fingers. Then she proceeded braiding oddly forward toward the face, and after Carissa created 3 braid weaves, she turned the braid, now braiding toward the ear to create the beginning of an arc or kind of a C shape. Instead of moving directly towards the back of his head, she continued weaving down to the ear before finally now braiding towards the back of his head, angling downward and finally securing the end with a small band. She then removed the jaw clip on the other side of the part and repeated the process. When the ends of each braid met at the back of his head, she then removed the rubber band on the first half of the braid and joined the 2 ends of the braids together in the back with a small ponytail holder to form the bottom point. "Adorable," sighed Carissa as she now trimmed some ribbon from a spool and twisted it in. "Just one for a little flair, and you're all set, Taylor." "Do I really need any more flair?" Taylor said, disgusted. "Well, of course you do, and you're gorgeous," said Carissa, opening a shoebox and dropping 2 sandals at his feet. "Put these on and we're out of here." "Come on, it'll be fun today." Taylor looked down, more disgusted than ever, sliding his feet into the neutral-colored sandals. Between his big toe and the next sat a pastel pink decorative silk hibiscus flower, accentuating the sandals. As he followed her from the room, he saw Kaylee all excited as he approached. "Mommy, we match," screamed Kaylee. "I love finally seeing you in a pretty dress, Taylor." "Oh, thanks I guess," replied Taylor, studying her and then feeling the urge to urinate as he glanced at their reflections together. They were dressed exactly alike, as their dresses were identical, only in different color schemes. Both Taylor and Kaylee were in sleeveless, bell sundresses which were a floral print and had sewn in pastel sashes with a large hibiscus flower on the left. Taylor's was primarily pastel pink with a white, peach, and pastel pink color scheme. Kaylee's was primarily peach with white, pastel pink and peach as the accent colors, and they had on identical sandals with the exception of their accent flower color differences. Their long bobbed cuts were styled exactly the same, hanging perfectly straight with precision bangs. Behind the bangs, the middle part was expertly accentuated with a small distinct elevated braid on each side, twisting from the center top part before heading slightly forward and then fading down towards their ears. As Kaylee turned, Taylor grew even sicker, seeing the back of her head and knowing his was identical. Taylor reached up, feeling the back of his head as thin braids they each had were skillfully woven, forming a heart shape at the back of both of their heads, which ended in a series of multicolored thin ribbons, and a small silk hibiscus flower centering a twisted and dainty bow. "Don't mess with my work, pretty girl." "Don't you love it, sweetie," said Carissa softly pulling away his fingers. "Lace heart braids look delicate, but it won't come out just touching it, so relax but please don't pull on it. Now enough admiring and let's get a move on, ladies." Carissa was hurrying them to leave as Taylor found himself in the back seat of the car with Kaylee. They drove for about 20 minutes, pulling up at a big house as Taylor saw the birthday balloons lining the driveway. As they got out, Carissa handed each of them a gift as they headed in, walking through the nice house and into the lavish backyard. He took a deep breath, seeing the entire lacrosse team laughing and hanging out as Kaylee dragged him over. "Awesome," yelled Johnny, seeing the girls and running over. "I was hoping you two would come." "Me too," said Frank, seeing Carissa coming over and hugging everyone. "You girls look fantastic. Come on, I'll introduce you to everyone." "Thanks," said Carissa, kissing his cheek. "Thanks for having us." "Oh, please. I'm thrilled you came, and it'll be a nice occasion for Taylor to get acquainted with the team," said Frank as he handed Carissa a tropical drink. "I was hoping so, too," Carissa replied, sipping her drink. "She seems really nervous. It can't be easy on her." "You sure about this?" "We'll make her feel comfortable," said Frank. Carissa and Frank chatted for a good half hour or so while the kids talked and played. Taylor was getting more comfortable as they chose up sides, playing volleyball in the grass as Taylor and Kaylee served as the lone girl on each team. Finally, Frank called the kids in for a bite to eat as Carissa mingled with the other parents and they had some barbecue. "Why don't you show the girls our lacrosse trophies?" said Frank as they finished eating. "Come on, I'll show you all our second-place finishes," said Johnny, grabbing Taylor's hand. "Hopefully with your scoring we can finally get over the top." "You two go," said Kaylee, giving Taylor a little nudge. "I'm too sweaty after that game, and I'm going to freshen up." "I'll wait for you," said Taylor, feeling awkward. "Just go," said Kaylee, walking over grabbing Butch's arm. "Butch is going to show me how to hit the volleyball the right way. I stink at it." "Good idea," said Johnny, pulling away Taylor. "Don't worry, Taylor, my dad expects me to take great care of you, and I promise I will." Taylor found himself being dragged by the hand inside the house and down into the basement. As Johnny flicked on the lights, Taylor was now in an incredible man cave type room and Johnny took him by the hand towards the large trophy case. See all these, said Johnny. All the big ones are my dad's when he was a kid. All those little ones are from my team. Wow, that kind of sucks, said Taylor with a giggle, half covering his mouth with his free hand. I know, said Johnny, a bit annoyed at the little laugh, pulling the other hand away from Taylor's mouth and stared into his eyes. But me and the guys are dying to win, so I'm willing to try anything. You know what I mean, Taylor. I think I got that one, Johnny, said Taylor, finding himself now holding both of Johnny's hands, staring straight ahead at him. Maybe I can have my hands back, please? Oh, sorry, said Johnny, letting go of Taylor's hands nervously. I'm not really used to being around girls. Especially girls like you. Me either, and I'm kind of not used to this stuff either, said Taylor, flicking his dress, happy to be released. But I would like one of those championships, so let's go get it. Damn, Dad was right about you. He said you looked like a winner and was super determined, said Johnny, putting his arm around Taylor and giving a squeeze across his shoulder. Who knew we'd be waiting for a girl like you? This is so perfect. Hey, you two coming back out, or you need another minute, said Carissa, startling them from behind as quickly Taylor spun towards him, seeing Carissa and Frank. Oh, you okay? Said Johnny, helping him back to his feet. Oh yeah. I'm good, said Taylor frazzled. We were just about to come back out. Taylor hurried past them as Johnny followed as they headed back outside. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I see, Carissa grinned at Frank. I guess not, said Frank with a small laugh as they followed the kids back out. Who knew? I should have, teased Carissa. As Taylor got back outside, he saw all the kids now in the pool as he stopped dead in his tracks, realizing they'd be looking for him to come in. Coming? Said Johnny, pulling off his shirt. No, I'll just sit this out, said Taylor, seeing Kaylee sipping a cherry drink, waiting for him as Johnny dove in. We don't have our bathing suits. Of course you do, said Carissa, walking over and unzipping Kaylee's sundress, before pulling it over her head. Did you forget you put it on first this morning? We'll be in 5 minutes, yelled Kaylee as Taylor looked stunned as he watched Carissa spraying suntan lotion all over Kaylee. Taylor's knees were knocking as Carissa now helped him off with his sundress and quickly tugged at the edges of the ruffled bottom, instinctively making sure everything was perfectly tucked away. I can't, Carissa, said Taylor, fidgeting. Let me get dressed and my hair. It'll be fine, said Carissa, as it was agonizing as Carissa was rubbing in the lotion. Just discreetly wipe that little bit of pink lip gloss off his cheek when you get in there, okay? I doubt Craig would approve of that, but it'll just be our little secret. Now run along, your hair will be fine. As Carissa pulled the little ribbons from the back of his braid, she patted his butt softly to run along towards the pool, as he could barely stand to look, seeing all the guys' eyes on them as they approached. He was at least happy to have his bottom section underwater as looked over, seeing the pink gloss on Johnny's cheek. He headed towards Johnny, lifting his finger against Johnny's cheek, and before he could even touch it, Johnny playfully dunked him. When he came up, he found himself in a bear hug as Johnny lifted him into his arms and tossed him towards another guy. And we all better take good care of her, yells Johnny. No one lets our new top scorer fall. Not here or on the field. Taylor was screaming like a little sissy as the boys tossed him around a bit before he found himself in a big group hug. Okay, chick fight time, yelled Butch, picking up Kaylee. Let's see what you two got. The minute he caught his breath, he found himself being lifted onto Johnny's shoulders and his legs being held. He looked up, seeing Kaylee cracking up coming towards him as he put his hands out and they pushed at each other. He was easily much stronger, knocking her off almost instantly, but as he jerked forward, he felt a sharp pain sitting on his manhood as it was pinned against the back of Johnny's neck. "Okay, no more," cried Taylor, looking over at Kaylee, again getting on Butch's shoulders. "No chance, lacrosse chick," yelled Kaylee. "Come on, 2 out of 3. You don't seem so tough." Taylor was practically tearing up the next time Kaylee pushed hard, as he didn't fight hard this time, but it got even worse as Johnny squeezed his legs harder, trying to avoid losing, but they did fall. Johnny picked him up again as Taylor ignored the pain, trying to get it over with, but the boys really competed until finally Kaylee was too weak. He could hardly function when Taylor dropped him from his shoulder and looked over, seeing that Craig had arrived, glancing at him for help. "I need to get out, please," cried Taylor, making his way from the pool. "My brother is finally here." He hurried from the pool as Kaylee followed, quickly running up to Craig. "Please, can we go?" whispered Taylor, hugging him. "I'm dying inside. I need the ice again." "After they do the birthday cake," said Craig. "Leaving before that would be rude. Toughen up, you're a lacrosse player." "Sorry girls, I know that must have been exhausting," said Carissa. "Just sit and relax for a bit." Taylor and Kaylee just sat back for a bit as Taylor could hardly take the pain. Frank came over, handing them some fruity drinks as they sipped through their straws and just relaxed in their lounge chairs while the boys played. After about another hour, the guys finally came out as Carissa helped them back on with their sundress and they finally had the cake. "You brought clothes?" said Carissa to Craig as they said their goodbyes. "Yes," said Craig, looking hopeful. "I know we didn't talk much yet about last night, but I was hoping dinner was still on." "Yeah, I know last night didn't end the way I wanted, so I was hoping you'd still want to have dinner too," said Carissa, touching his thigh. "Give me a second, I've got an idea for the kids and I'll be right back." Carissa walked over, talking to Frank for a few minutes and then returned, taking the kids by the hand. They headed out as oddly they got in Craig's car as he drove them to Carissa's place. "You guys take turns showering for dinner," said Craig. "Your mom said you can use her bathroom and Taylor can go in the other. She'll be here soon as she just had to stop and get a few things." "Can't we go home, Craig?" said Taylor, completely irritated. "I've really had it. Enough today." "Oh sweetie," said Carissa, walking in and right over hugging him. "I know it was a long day and those boys were way too rough on you. Go shower and you'll feel better. I promise." Carissa handed him a towel and a series of hair products and he headed into the shower. He did as he was told and almost had a stroke when he got out of the shower, seeing his wet sun-baked reflection. Across his shoulders and back, the white strap lines of the thin bikini top straps were ever so white against his sunburnt skin, but even more revolting were the milky triangular patches that stood out on his tan chest. "Taylor, your outfit is on the bed," Carissa said, knocking on the door. "Just come to Kaylee's room when you're dressed and I'll do your hair." Taylor almost couldn't take it anymore as he came out with a towel wrapped around his waist, seeing the clothes on the bed. He realized he had no tape to pin himself back and no longer cared as he was ready for this to end. "Taylor, you decent?" Craig asked before entering and then having a laugh. "Holy crap, little bro. I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was a pool party." "No more Craig," started Taylor. "I can't take it anymore. Look at me. Look at my chest." "I'm sorry, it's all out of hand," said Craig, shrugging out his hands. "I really care about her, but no matter what tonight I'm going to tell her. Just go with the flow tonight and I'm going to tell her everything when we're alone." "You guys okay in here?" Carissa asked through the door. Did you say you wanted to tell me something? Did she not like her outfit? No, we're good and we'll be out in a second, said Craig looking at the clothes. Just get dressed and I don't think anything will show in this. Taylor grunted at his brother, stepping into the baby blue panties and then slid his arms into a soft salmon-colored tunic, dropping it over his head. He then took a ruffled denim skirt from the bed and stepped into it as Craig helped zip up the back before opening the bedroom door. Taylor shook his head, needing no help stepping into the glittery ballet flats he had grown accustomed to, and within a moment Carissa stepped in with her hairdryer. It didn't take long for her to remove the moisture, creating nothing overly elaborate this time as she brushed through his hair and gathered all of it into a pony. With her thin flat iron, she secured his bangs away from his face, releasing and grasping, letting them twist for 15 or 20 seconds. Once she released them, he could feel the little bounce on his forehead and began repeating the process, twisting the flat iron through his ponytail. This was a much larger section of hair, so it took a little longer, but this entire process took only a few minutes, as finally she placed the iron down and he heard a clip snap at the base of the pony before Carissa stepped back, covering his head in sticky spray. Very cute, let's go girls, said Carissa turning open to tube and rubbing a little gloss on his lips. He tasted the little strawberry flavor, rubbing his lips together and stood up, feeling the pony flip as he turned. He walked a few steps, rolling his eyes as he saw his reflection, watching the high pony sway as he shook his head in displeasure. He was well aware of his outfit as the denim ruffles certainly covered any bump, but this was his first time in a fitted skirt, so his steps were a bit restricted. On top he really couldn't notice the tan lines, but it was kind of sickening seeing the Justice logo swirling in script across his pretty tunic-type top. She really didn't do too much with his hair, as his bangs were lifted, curling back away from his face before angling to the right, and his high pony swung in one thick loose swirl from under a large salmon bow which matched his top. Even though his hair was completely off his face and pulled up, it was a bit disturbing seeing no sign of a boy in the reflection. They walked out to Carissa's car as Craig got in the passenger seat and they drove off. At least they weren't dressed alike at all this time, though as they sat chatting in the car and they drove for only 5 minutes until she pulled up okay. Girls, I'll pick you up after the show, said Carissa, turning back and handing them their purses. Kaylee has money for tickets and snacks, so just enjoy and I'll see you in 2 hours. Wait, we're going to a movie and you're not coming? Taylor asked. No, you girls go have fun, said Carissa, looking back over at them from the front. Your brother and I are having a little adult time while you girls get some freedom. We've got some things to chat about, but don't worry about that and just go have fun. Kaylee was excited to have some freedom, as she practically ran inside dragging Taylor. Okay, let's go somewhere and talk, said Craig, watching them hand in their tickets and go in. They'll be fine for a few hours. Carissa drove a few blocks and they went into a quiet coffee house. They found a nice table away from everyone and sat in the back as Craig looked incredibly nervous. Okay, so here's the thing, Carissa, said Craig, his chest pounding. So before you even say anything, I'm really sorry about how last night ended, said Carissa. It's fine, said Craig. Look, I know we just really met, but everything's been wonderful. You, the kids getting along so well and just everything, but before we go any further I have a confession to make. You don't need to tell me, giggled Carissa. I've known all along and it's fine. You're kidding? Said Craig, stunned. I've got an eye for these things, Craig, said Carissa, tapping his thigh and smiling. Relax, we've all got our issues and I know you've been trying hard to make all this work. Trust me, I realize it couldn't be easy and honestly it's very flattering. You can't imagine what a relief this is. You knew and you went along with it anyway, said Craig as his eyes popped wide open. You must be shitting me. Taylor's been dying inside. I've always accepted people for who they are, and I'm sure this has been incredibly difficult for both you and Taylor. I know how hard it is to make new friends, and most people just want no part of you. Plus I know last night was probably something a bit odd but eye-opening for both of us, said Carissa. For me, I've always felt there really should be no gender gap, so how you dress to me is just fashion and nothing more. Not that I'm not a slave to fashion, but people are people to me and they're all beautiful regardless of what they wear or who they like. Plus guys getting in touch with their inner femininity and just being who they are should be celebrated and explored. I commend you for it, and I'm glad we both share no inhabitations there. Wow, said Craig, stunned and thrilled. You're amazing, Carissa. I thought you'd be upset at us and that maybe ruined everything between us. On the contrary, hon, and I know this might be a bit sudden and forward but, said Carissa, leaning in and taking his hand nervously. I was kind of wondering if you and Taylor would move in with us. I was thinking it would be good for all of us. I was thinking we could overcome any gender gaps, money issues, and our problems together. I mean, obviously there would need to be some major changes, but if you're willing then I am. This is unbelievable, said Craig. Yes, absolutely. This is like a dream. Good, then. Come on and I'll drop you home and pack up, said Carissa, incredibly excited. I'll pick you up in the morning and then we can start anew. Bring anything you want and we'll work on any changes tomorrow. Tonight we start anew and tomorrow we'll have a wonderful Memorial Day celebration and start our new life together. Arm in arm they walked to her car together as Craig was on cloud nine. She drove him home as Craig ran for the door, quickly heading home and stuffing a few suitcases with their clothes. Back at the theater, Kaylee and Taylor got popcorn and drinks as they headed into a horror movie. They settled in the back as Taylor was on the lookout to avoid anyone he might know as they sat back watching the movie. Right back, said Kaylee. I have to use the ladies' room. Want to come? No thanks, said Taylor. It's getting really good. Taylor sat watching the film as he felt a little touch on his ponytail as he moved his head right, annoyed at the kids behind him. When he felt it again, it was more like a little tension this time, as he twisted to see what was up only to be stunned as Johnny jumped into the seat next to him from behind. Johnny, what are you doing here? Said Taylor. Oh, I heard you two were here, so I thought I'd give you a little company, Johnny grinned. Oh well, not necessarily, as Kaylee will be right back, said Taylor. She just had to use the bathroom. She might have told you that, but she's hanging with Butch in the action movie next door, so they sent me here to hang with you, said Johnny, sliding his arm around Taylor. Are you crazy? Yelled Taylor as half the theater turned around. Taylor practically crawled under his seat, slumping down from embarrassment as Johnny calmed some folks. Sorry, said Johnny. We're cool. Shoo. Excuse me, you two, said a man with a flashlight in their face now. One more outburst from your girlfriend, and we'll have to ask you to leave. Sorry, no problem, said Johnny, rubbing Taylor's shoulders. We're good. She gets a little excited, that's all. This is some scary crap. Then you're not fighting? Said the man, shining the light right in Taylor's face. And I won't see another outburst, right? No, sir, said Taylor, mortified. We're fine. Good, then just enjoy the show and each other's company like everyone else here, please, said the man, taking the light away. And no more talking, please. Understood? Understood, said Johnny, snuggling him in tight. "We're done talking, right, hon?" "Definitely," said Taylor, embarrassed as the man walked away. "Sorry I startled you," said Johnny as Taylor pushed his arm from around him. "Bullshit you are," whispered Taylor, sliding towards the other side of the seat. "Go get Kaylee and don't ever do that again." "I'm sorry," said Johnny. "I can't, she's kind of busy with Butch." "No way," yelled Taylor as quickly Johnny covered his mouth as again half the theater turned around. "Oh shit, here he comes again," whispered Johnny, seeing the guy with the light come their way. "Don't talk or we're booted." "You're right." "Look away," said Taylor, turning towards Johnny away from the flashlight as Johnny twisted his neck, making like he didn't see him coming. "Was that you saying something again, young Law?" the man started to say as he stopped mid-sentence as Taylor couldn't even react as Johnny's lips pressed against his mid-sentence. "I guess not then." Taylor had no idea what to do, closing his eyes from the flashlight as Johnny was holding his face and softly kissing him as he was frozen, certainly not kissing back. "Are you crazy?" whispered Taylor, starting to speak but stopping as he peeked, seeing the man there but the flashlight turned off. He closed his eyes, feeling saliva drip down his face, repulsing him, but as he opened his mouth to speak, he felt Johnny's tongue enter his mouth. No way could this be happening, he thought as he opened his eyes, seeing the man was gone, and then looked up to his left, seeing Kaylee and Butch were standing there now. "So I guess you're enjoying the movie, you two," said Kaylee, sitting down with a smirk on her face next to them and sipping her soda. "The other movie's over, so I figured we'd just hang here until yours is done." "Sure, cool," Taylor replied, trying to gather his composure. "Sounds good, just keep quiet as they are busting our chops in here." "Sure thing," said Kaylee, winking at Taylor, seeing him looking embarrassed as she sat down next to him. Nothing more was said for the rest of the movie as Kaylee and Taylor quickly said goodbye to the guys and ran to the curb to meet Carissa. "So how was the show, girls?" said Carissa. "Scary?" "No, I'd say we felt warm and safe, Mom," said Kaylee, gently kicking Taylor. "Speak for yourself, Kaylee." "Let's just say it wasn't anything I could have ever expected or enjoyed," said Taylor, irritated. "Whatever, girls." "Glad you enjoyed it, I think," said Carissa as she drove away. "Hey Taylor, can I have a piece of your gum?" "Do you have any more?" "I don't have any," Taylor started to reply, then quickly he rolled down the window and spit the gum he had been chewing on, realizing it had come from Johnny's mouth during their French kissing. "Seriously, Taylor?" said Carissa, annoyed. "Sorry, it was my last piece and I really don't have any more," said Taylor, feeling ill. "Can you just take me home? I'm tired and I don't feel that well." "Unfortunately, I can't as Craig is out doing some things." "I'm sure you're wiped, but I promise tonight will be your last night as a guest," said Carissa. "Relax, we'll be home soon and we'll get you girls into your PJs." Taylor couldn't believe he had to stay over again as he soon found himself in a flowing purple nightgown. It was even worse than the previous nights, as this time he had the decals of a boy band across his chest as Carissa tucked them in. He tossed and turned, having a hard time removing the thoughts from the theater from his mind as finally he fell asleep. "Wake up, you two!" sighed Carissa, flipping on the lights. "I let you girls sleep in, so I'll need to help you get ready and we've got an important brunch planned. Taylor, you come with me while Kaylee dresses here as I've got your clothes in my bedroom." "Okay." Taylor followed Carissa, rubbing his eyes. "So just so we get this over with, honey, I talked to Craig yesterday and I know everything," said Carissa, spinning him away from her and brushing his hair, removing the bedhead. "You do," said Taylor, feeling some relief and turning back towards her. "Yes, and I also heard you puking last night," said Carissa. You feeling better this morning? Oh, definitely, said Taylor. I really do now. Good, then once we meet up with Craig later we'll break the news to Kaylee and we'll clear the air on everything. Until then, this will be our little secret, and just so you know, I'm okay with everything. There is really no reason for you to get sick over all this, said Carissa. Just relax and understand changes will be coming. Just go with the flow today and later we'll fill in Kaylee. Thanks, Carissa, said Taylor as she got up. That sounds fantastic. I can hardly wait. Good. Dress yourself and I'll check on Kaylee. I know this dress is really frilly, but it's the last outfit I have for you. You'll have to wear it for now, and you must look appropriate for brunch. Craig will be bringing your clothes from your house so you can be comfortable later. If you need any help, just call me, Carissa told him. I'll be fine, I think, said Taylor, walking over and seeing the white knee socks on the bed. It was weird sliding his legs into them and tugging them up. He kept fidgeting and stretching them until finally he realized they weren't supposed to cover his knees and turned them over, hemming them below his knees. It was strange feeling the nylon-type material and odd how they clung to his legs differently than sweat socks. He felt this would finally be over soon and walked over, taking the dress from the hanger and pulling it over his head. He couldn't get the zipper all the way up as he struggled, reaching over his shoulder before finally giving up and stepping into his shoes. When he turned back around, Kaylee was standing there as again they were dressed identically as she came over zipping him up. Come on, Virginia is here to drive us for our hair, said Kaylee, fastening the little button behind his neck. You're kidding, said Taylor, surprised. Where's your mom? She said we'd be going with her to brunch. We are. She's getting dressed before she goes to help your brother, and then she's meeting us there, said Kaylee, grabbing his hand. Come, hurry up. We can't make Virginia late for work. Kaylee dragged Taylor down the stairs. The look was simple yet chic as they were both in one-piece red and gray romper dresses. One top it had an attached white cotton long-sleeve top with a distinct white Peter Pan collar. On the bottom, the dress was a red and gray pleated romper style with sewn-in shoulder straps and the skirt hemmed at mid-thigh. On his legs, the white knee socks stood out from the red flats and their hair hung perfectly straight without being accessorized. Quickly now, Taylor found himself in Virginia's car with Kaylee as she drove them to her salon. Your dresses are adorable, girls, said Virginia. I love how cute you two look together. Thank you, said Kaylee politely. So my plan is keep that promise I made to you two the other night, said Virginia. Sound good? Yes, perfect, said Kaylee, getting excited. Good, this will be fun then, ladies, said Virginia before taking a phone call. And your brunch outfits are to die for. She barely took a breath talking on the phone as she pulled up and dragged them in, holding their hands. Taylor's senses were popping, seeing the busy salon as all the new strange scents and sounds surrounded him. He did his best just smiling and nodding as all the hairdressers were gushing over how cute they were and how pretty they looked dressed alike. He kept telling himself that Carissa had told him he'd be done with all this after brunch, but that wasn't much help right now as he soon found himself in an elevated salon chair, staring straight ahead at his reflection. He looked over seeing Kaylee smiling from ear to ear next to him. Virginia wrapped a long plastic cloth over his entire body as he watched another stylist do the same to Kaylee. He knew he was about to get his hair done as he saw the other stylist combing through Kaylee's, as Virginia now spun his chair away from the mirror and the view of Kaylee. Now I'm going to give you something along the same lines you girls were trying for the other night, honey, but with some pretty little twists, said Virginia as she stepped behind him and he felt her separating his hair with the rat tail of her comb. It's really trendy for girls your age, so be patient for me as I guarantee the results will be gorgeous on you. Sounds great, sighed Taylor, sarcastically rolling his eyes as she brushed feverishly. She dampened his hair just a bit with a spray bottle of a smelly substance, combing through it a number of times from top to bottom until she had his entire head coated. She seemed to keep his simple middle part and the straight bob style as she made only fine adjustments until finally she began working on the right. She was lifting and twisting just above the ears as she braided her way towards the back and then repeated the process on the other side. When she finally finished, she took her hairdryer, removing any dampness from the rest of his loosely hanging hair and brushed it down towards his shoulders. She then took the nozzle of her blow dryer, touching each little weave section for a moment, setting her work as he could feel the intense heat on his scalp before she finally placed it down. With a comb in one hand, she separated and brushed through the frontmost small section she created near his left cheek before spraying it with an aerosol setting spray. When she placed down the spray, he watched her lift a spiral curling iron from a rod holder on her vanity and then stretched the wire across his cape. He could feel the butterflies in his belly as she stretched the thin section until it was taut, and he gulped watching the iron clamp down before rolling up towards his temple. He could feel the heat near his cheekbone and hear the sizzle before she finally released the hair and quickly cupped the curl with her palm before pinning it tightly against his scalp. She worked her way ever so precisely around his head, as he soon found she had repeated this 15 or 20 times before she finally finished at the other temple. She then brushed through his bangs a few times before taking out her scissors and giving them the slightest trim. "More cutting?" asked Taylor as she whisked the little strands from his cheeks. "Not much, hon. I just like them a touch shorter on you," said Virginia, picking up a 1 1/4 barrel iron and clamping it down on his trimmed bangs horizontally. "They're not as short as they'll look because I gave little shape, but I didn't want those pretty eyes of yours covered, especially now that we'll make them pop a little. Keep in mind last time was a quickie and I couldn't get them perfect like I can here at the shop." "Pop," said Taylor, confused as she removed the iron and then completely saturated his head in hairspray. "Look up and keep your eyes rolled up until I tell you, princess," said Virginia as he was surprised as a metal clamp quickly squeezed his upper lash. "Relax, you're going to look more beautiful than ever when I'm done with you. I promise." The odd pressure completely caught him off guard as he blinked when she released the lash clamp, and then it got crazy as he watched the mascara wand slide across his upper lash. She held his chin steady as she did the lower lash and then clamped down on the other lash. It was all happening so fast as she recoated each lash a few times, then took a little pencil to his upper lids. This took only seconds as she didn't do much, but he felt ready to faint as she opened a large colorful palette. "Is that all for me?" Taylor asked. "Of course not, sweetie," teased Virginia, giving a playful slap. "I'll go easy on you, as Carissa told me you're more of a tomboy, but not today when I'm done with you. Now close your eyes, please." There was nothing Taylor could do as he watched her dip a little applicator into some colors before he had to close his eyes and felt it glide across his lids. He was quivering a bit as he felt her jump back and forth a little between each eye, and then she tapped him to open them as he watched a huge soft brush dip into some pink and then approach him sliding across his cheeks. This wasn't how he hoped all this would end soon as he watched her dip a small brush into a shiny glossy circle and then she glided it across his lips. "Okay, just a little extra setting and I think you'll be all ready," said Virginia, rolling over a bonnet dryer on a stand and lowering it down over his head. "We wouldn't want any flopping." Taylor felt the warm air switch on now as he sat there alone as Virginia left him. He tried twisting towards Kaylee, but really couldn't see as he noticed people were buzzing back and forth in front of him in the busy salon. It was only over him for maybe 20 minutes until she returned switching it off and he looked up seeing Carissa checking on him. "Wow, I'm so excited," said Carissa, lifting his chin and snapping a picture. She looks amazing already, Virginia. I can't wait to see the final look. Not that hard when you give me something this pretty to start with, replied Virginia, touching his head. So let me just take out the clips and get in a few final touches. 5 minutes and you can dress her and you're out of here. I hung the dresses in the back room so they can get dressed there. Perfect, said Carissa. Craig is here and I thought maybe I'd surprise him and you'd give him a trim while I dress the girls. It's a formal brunch, and I'm sure I'd like him to look his best. Sure, have him go get his hair washed and I'll handle it, said Virginia, taking the clips from Taylor's hair. He sat there now, seeing Craig was being led right past him, paying no mind as he didn't seem to notice Taylor being tended to. He wasn't sure if he didn't recognize him or was he just not paying any attention, as he could feel his hair springing and dangling with each pin being released. When she finally finished, she again took her spiral iron and redid a few sections, making sure everything was to her liking. She then cupped each section in her palm and spritzed it with a pump spray before finally taking a heavy finish spray and saturating his head while she covered his eyes with her palm. Oh, you've outdone yourself, Virginia, said Carissa, overjoyed as she returned as Virginia pulled off his cape. They're gorgeous on her, right, said Virginia, touching his hair a few last times. Just stay out of the wind, but they're definitely going to hold well, as I used a Max Hold setting lotion, good finish spray, and really baked them in. Perfect, said Carissa, reaching out her hand to Taylor. Let's go get ready, and I'm sure you're starving, you pretty little thing. Taylor could feel his hair oddly swinging as she whisked him through the crowded salon. In a minute he found himself in the back room as Carissa closed the door behind them. So I'll help you get dressed, as these tights rip so easily, and we wouldn't want to ruin them, would we? Said Carissa, ever so carefully pulling his old dress over his head so as not to ruin his hair. Okay, I guess, said Taylor nervously without a top now in front of her. Since you know everything now, then I guess I shouldn't be worried about hiding anything anymore in front of you. Of course not, sweetie, said Carissa as he stepped out of his shoes and took off his socks. Never be worried, as I've seen everything you got. Okay, this girl stuff is grueling, but I do feel better now, said Taylor. Or not. Holy shit, Taylor, screamed Carissa, jumping back as he turned and she saw the little budge in his panties. Wait, you okay? Said Taylor, as Carissa was covering her chest. I thought you were good with everything. Holy crap! I am now, said Carissa, half covering her mouth and giggling. I just think we had a little misunderstanding. Oh, your brother and I have way more to talk about now, but it's fine. It's fine! But you said you knew, said Taylor, growing angry and shaking Dot as she opened the tights. You said it was cool and you would help me. I'm sorry he made me do this for you, but I do love being friends with you and Kaylee. I am cool with you, Taylor. I love you regardless of gender, and I think you're beautiful both inside and out, said Carissa, hugging him and rolling the tights with her hands. Now sit. In fact, Kaylee and I are both here to help you. Now just relax and be yourself. Oh, thank you, said Taylor as she rolled the tights up his legs and then had him stand before she tugged them tightly, snapping the waistband. You have no idea what a strain this has been on me. I can only imagine, and obviously you aren't the only one around here that was confused. Trust me. Been there. Done that, and still doing it for years, said Carissa, smiling while she held open a dress for him to step into before zipping him up and tying the bow. Now let me help you step into your shoes and we'll continue this later. Right now I have to go have a quick chat with Craig and check on Kaylee, so just come out there when you're ready. Do I have to come out? Asked Taylor, sitting as she opened the shoebox and pulled out the little shoes, placing them on his feet. You've been out all weekend. Now it'll be nothing new and you're more adorable than ever, honey, said Carissa as he shook his head as she slipped his feet into the dainty low-heeled open-toed shoes and fastened the strap. See you in a minute. His ankles buckled inward as he took his first step, steadying himself when he stood up as Carissa abruptly left the room. He struggled taking even the smallest steps, and was dying to get out of all of this but looked around, realizing he had no other clothes or shoes. Well, there you are, my wonderful friend, said Carissa, as she emerged from the back room, seeing Craig sitting up with a small towel on his head at the washing station after having his hair shampooed. Wow, you look amazing, Carissa, said Craig as she came over. Thanks, and so does Taylor, said Carissa. I think you'll be impressed when you see how pretty he turned out getting after his hair done. How about we get right to some truths now, Craig? Carissa, about that. Remember last night, Craig stuttered. I tried talking to you a few times. I just. You said you knew. Don't panic. It's fine, Craig. I know you were trying to tell me things and shit happened. What I thought I knew was something different, said Carissa, patting his shoulder. But really, it's fine. I think it's just time we all drop our little white lies, stop hiding things and lay it all on the table. You're right, sighed Craig. I'm sorry. I'll tell you anything you want. Ask me anything? Good. First off. So you're really not gay then, are you? Asked Carissa, looking right in his eyes. You thought I was gay, cried Craig. Well, yeah, said Carissa. I mean the nails. The outfits. Shopping. I mean, how many straight guys can do girls' hair, especially complex braiding, and don't get insulted, but you're pretty far from macho. Did I seem gay the other night? Cried Craig in disbelief. Well, not really, but I thought it was just a night of confusion for both of us. You know, like some lust got in the way of our normal selves, and I thought maybe we were both a little desperate, said Carissa, with her hands on her hips. You saw me puking, didn't you? Are you saying I was desperate and disgusted you, or was it that you just were with someone gay that did it? Said Craig, completely insulted. I thought we had amazing sex and you wanted to live together. I do, but I think you got the wrong impression here. Let's back up for a second, Carissa grinned. I thought we could help each other with the finances and the kids. I thought we could help each other through therapy and support each other, but I don't think we're on the same page here. I'm really confused, Carissa. Craig shook his head. I thought you knew I liked you. I thought you understood how hot I was for you. Did none of that come through? I've been through a lot over the years, Craig, and sometimes I guess I'm just too blonde for my own good, especially when it comes to men, said Carissa with her palm on her forehead. I guess I've just ignored men for so long and done nothing but worry about Kaylee that some of this never dawned on me. I guess looking back now I realize all the signals were there, but I just ignored them thinking you were playing for the other team. Mom, are we going soon? Said Kaylee, interrupting. I'm not too used to shoes like this, so I really can't carry these bags too easily or for too long. They said to move them from the lobby. Holy crap, said Craig, seeing Taylor now as he dragged 2 suitcases on wheels towards them, following Kaylee. They were both dressed in gorgeous dresses with perfect hair, looking like 2 princesses. He had never seen Kaylee this dressed up, but obviously had never seen Taylor like this either. Kaylee was in a fancy sapphire scoop neck dress, her hair done in tight perm-like curls from beneath a fishbone braid, and her lips shining with a tangerine gloss. She seemed to pale in comparison though as he stared at Taylor, almost stunned he could look this pretty. Not even an ounce of young boy used from Taylor as he struggled a bit walking in the low-heeled shoes, as nowhere in sight was the tough lacrosse star. Instead there stood a pretty prima donna looking ready for a fancy dance headed his way. It was crazy to see his arches slightly elevated as he was in shiny white patent peep-toe kitten heels, which had a strap across his ankle and a small 1-inch heel. Ivory tights clung to his skinny legs and were sure enough to display his red toenails through the open toe of the shoe. His mint-colored dress gave him a classic A-line silhouette as he was in a Ralph Lauren satin tea-length dinner dress. On top, the sleeveless bodice was fitted perfectly to his slim athletic frame with thin shoulder straps, and below his waist the dress poofed out in pleated layers. Across the shoulder straps and throughout the bodice, small pearls added to its delicate design while some dispersed glitter added shimmer to the big skirt. Around his waist, a thick ruffled emerald ribbon sash embellished the gorgeous look before twisting behind back and being looped into a big bow. Virginia had kept her promise from the other night as the long blunt bob had been transformed into an unmistakable girly girls style, with distinct lovely spiral curls streaming from a meticulousness chain-like braid. Even though his bangs were trimmed just a touch, they seemed even shorter as they had been slightly lifted off his forehead and curled under so daintily. Behind the bangs, his hair contained a precision middle part, but from temple to temple an extremely thick waterfall braid flowed above each ear before the two sides met at the back of his head before fading under a thick oversized double bow tie bow which perfectly matched his emerald sash. Below the tight braid, his hair quickly began coiling into thick distinct 1/2 barrel curls which were baked into his locks as his new full tresses sprang ever so delicately with each step he took, never reaching his shoulders as he walked. Virginia had also left no room for anyone to see anything but a precious princess, as his coated curled lashes looked so big and his pink shadows and blushes highlighted his flawless complexion. His lips had also never shined so brightly, as the colorful coral pink lip gloss shone much brighter than the little clear gloss he had on before, leaving no doubt that Virginia wanted the girls looking their best. "They look amazing, right?" said Carissa, nudging Craig. "Aren't they the two most beautiful little girls you've ever seen?" Yeah. I guess so," said Craig, hardly able to believe his eyes. "I mean, you girls look so beautiful." "That's better," teased Carissa, patting Craig's thigh. "Girls, just bring those bags to the back room and you can leave them right by the back door, okay?" Taylor gave his brother a nasty look as he passed and headed towards the back wheeling the bags. "Look, Craig, I've really thought about this a lot now. I think we're like a perfect match in many ways, just obviously the intimacy was incredibly awkward for both of us," said Carissa. "But that's just me, so now we've got to get back to what we were discussing. There's so much more to talk about." "Wait! I found it incredible, honestly." "You know, the night together," Craig mumbled. "I know you said it's been a long time for you, but it just felt so right." "I thought you felt it too." "You know." "It's crazy, but it did," said Carissa, smiling. "Tell you what, I told you that you're really not my type at all, but I'm willing to try this if you are. We'd have to both be willing to make some changes." "No problem," said Craig. "I'm good with that. I'd do anything for this to work between us. I feel different than I've ever felt before when I'm with you." "I was hoping you feel that way," said Carissa, pulling a long plastic curtain around them and starting to unbutton his shirt. "How about I'll send the girls to have lunch and maybe we can begin working on making the changes for both of us." "Are you kidding?" said Craig as she now undid his belt. "I'd love that. I'll do what it takes to make this work." "Starting now?" said Carissa. "Like right now?" "Yes," said Craig. "So you're saying you'd be willing to change for me? For us?" Carissa smiled as she knelt, pulling off his shoes and socks. Because there'll be no turning back. Wow, this is so hot, said Craig as she had him stand pulling off his pants and shirt. Right here in this crowded beauty parlor. Of course, said Carissa grinning. There's no better place for the change to begin than here. This is beyond my wildest dreams, Carissa, sighed Craig, getting aroused. Good, slip this on for now, said Carissa as she slid a white silk robe over his arms, tying the belt and then reaching down, pulling off his boxers. Relax, no one can see behind this curtain and don't get the wrong impression. Wait, I'm confused then, said Craig as she picked up his boxers, tossing them in a little trash can. I've been confused all my life, honey, but the thing is I do know what I like and how I like it, said Carissa, reaching under his robe and giving a few quick tugs on his penis, making him jump a bit. Me too, and I think you're amazing, sighed Craig, highly aroused. Okay, then if you're willing to change and give this your all, then so am I, said Carissa, looking into his eyes. Anything, uttered Craig nervously. Okay, then we begin our changes immediately, and I'm so looking forward to it, said Carissa, closing her eyes, sticking her tongue in his mouth before breaking the wet kiss and pulling open the curtain. Hey, Pedro, you have a second? Yes, miss, said the worker, sweeping up. Toss these in the incinerator, and wheel the bags outside across the street, said Carissa, handing him Craig's clothes. Wait, those were my favorite jeans, Craig yelled as Pedro carried them into the back. Not anymore. Remember, liar pants on fire, and those are the first things to go, honey, said Carissa, giving him a look and then a quick peck on the lips. You said you were good with the changes, right? And that means all my changes. There can't be any hesitation or in between? No, I'm sorry. No problem, said Craig. I guess they were old and ratty. Light them up, Pedro. I know you're a fashion expert, so I'll go with whatever you think. I'm ready to start over like we said. Okay, last chance to change your mind, because if not I'll have to run back there and catch him before they're torched, said Carissa. No, said Craig. Let's just start anew. I want this to be a perfect new start for both of us. Good. Hey Virginia, can you get started processing him, said Carissa, calling over to Virginia. I'm into blondes, you know. Wait, holy crap, said Craig, seeing Virginia wheel over a cart filled with platinum extensions. Those are for me? Maybe I'll give you two another minute, okay, said Virginia, leaving the cart and shaking her head. Yeah, the bleaching takes a while, and while it processes, they'll wax you so you're nice and smooth and probably even start your makeup, said Carissa. Carissa, wait, I'm not sure we're on the same page again, cried Craig. All done, Miss Carissa, said Pedro as he came back in. I tossed those ratty clothes in the furnace and had the 4 suitcases picked up by the Goodwill truck across the street. Wait, you said you were good with the changes, said Carissa, closing the curtain again and reaching under the robe again. You getting cold feet? Taylor didn't have much choice as I understand it, but you do. I need your decision to be firm, and well, you seem pretty firm to me. Cold feet, said Craig. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Let me spell it out in black and white, honey, so there's no confusion. I'm a lesbian, Craig. Is that not loud and clear here? Said Carissa. I hate that word and typecasting anyone, including myself, but there I said it. Oh, and straight men repulse me. You're shitting me? Said Craig with a smirk. So you thought we were both gay? But how and when, as you've got a daughter? I've always been one, but I experimented with boys when I was a teenager, and I was blessed with Kaylee. Shit happens, you know, said Carissa, getting teary-eyed. Now, I'm willing to adapt to accept both of you and bring you into my life, but men in general disgust me. I'm sorry, that's how it has to be. I thought you wanted that. I thought we were all a perfect match. This is crazy, said Craig, feeling himself get aroused again. Is it? Said Carissa, reaching down and poking at his manhood a few times, seeing how excited he still was. Seems your other head likes the idea of it, so it's up to you? I'm willing to accept what you've got under this robe, and all I'm asking is for you to make some cosmetic changes for me. I'm going to adapt, but you'll need to as well. You're saying we'd all be living as girls? Said Craig, barely able to see straight, he was so aroused. You're asking me to choose, but for Taylor this was temporary. Maybe at first it was, but I don't think you should even consider anything else for Taylor, said Carissa, hitting a few buttons on her phone and playing a video. Here, look at the video from the movie theater that Kaylee took. Holy crap! Craig was shocked seeing Taylor making out in the theater. I can't freaking believe it. Is that Johnny? Believe it, said Carissa, peeking open the curtain for Craig to look out. He's already got a boyfriend, and obviously you didn't force him to do that. I didn't tell you as I thought she'd be in trouble for making out in the movie theater yesterday, but now you know, so I'm thinking Taylor won't put up too much of a fight when he realizes he'll be staying as she. In fact, I'm pretty sure curls and dresses look pretty natural on him. Look at him and tell me you see any signs of anything other than a pretty little girl. Craig looked up, seeing Taylor chatting in the waiting area with Kaylee and the two boys, as this was suddenly all surreal. He took a deep breath, looking back at Carissa, and then closed his eyes for a moment. All our clothes are gone, right? Craig gulped. Sorry, I jumped so fast on that, said Carissa, feeling guilty. But, yeah. Lesbian, huh? Sighed Craig. The slang is lipstick lesbian, and yes, said Carissa with a soft smile. I know it would be weird at first, but think of it this way, we both like the same type and you'd certainly be helping cure my addiction? I guess, and we'd all live at your place and it would seem normal, said Craig, looking into her eyes. And you're saying this would work? I mean, you think I could even pull off not looking ridiculous? Yes, screamed Carissa, before leaning in and giving him a firm kiss. And yes. You do realize you and Taylor look alike, right? And he's drop-dead gorgeous. You mean she's drop-dead gorgeous, right? Teased Craig, cracking a slight smile. We'd have work to do there. Yes, and not much as she's stunning, honestly, said Carissa, folding her hands. What the fuck? Whispered Craig, looking down at his budging robe. And what about that? Don't worry. Taking care of that will be my adjustment. It's just been a long time, but I can handle it, said Carissa, stepping back and waving over Virginia. I'll see you in a bit, as I'm going to drop the kids off for their little lunch date while Virginia does her thing with you. You sure about this? Said Craig as his knees started knocking. Never more sure in my life, whispered Carissa in his ear as she lowered the back of his chair and he found his head over the sink. While the kids have their dates, I'm going shopping for some things for you to wear out later, and in the bedroom. Now sit back and enjoy this, because you're going to make one hot blonde, and tonight we're breaking her in big time. That's what I'm afraid of, said Craig as Virginia pulled the towel off his head and switched on the water. Nothing to be afraid of, honey, said Virginia as she began bleaching his hair while he felt the hot wax being applied to his left leg. Taylor may be pretty in her little dress and kitten heels, but you're about to be Carissa's little sex kitten. Trust me, half the city would kill to be in your shoes. Plus, when I'm done with you, your problem won't be blending in. It'll be just like Carissa's. And what's that? Craig glanced over, seeing Taylor staring over at him. beating off the horny guys with a stick, Virginia quipped as Craig watched Johnny wiggle his fingers between Taylor's as they began walking out. Now try not to fidget, because this will take a while.